Hello, it's another Wednesday. Well, what is today? Today is May 20th. I actually have to look at my watch to check the date. Sometimes the days, they just go by. We don't know. So I hope everybody is still at home, sheltering in place, and keeping safe and happy and also sane. I think that sane is really important. If you go crazy, that's not what you want to do. So it's important to stay at home and that you keep your cool. So it's about finding out what works for you, what's happening in your neighborhood. Be alert and be very cautious. I was speaking to somebody in Switzerland yesterday and they said, yeah, people are not so cautious anymore. It's still important, and in my opinion it is how you project to the world. So if you don't wear a mask, probably people will think like, well, we don't need to wear a mask anymore. But the more people who are wearing masks, that sends a message. So don't underestimate the power of the message that you can have. So wear the mask, wash your hands obviously, and be mindful with the people that you are seeing. And people in Central Park, whoever is running, they also for sure should wear a mask and think of others and not just of themselves. I certainly want to be careful and be part of just setting a good example. We don't need to be a supermodel, super role model, but I still think like if we are doing good, everybody else can follow your good that you are putting into the world. And that's exactly the theme that I want to portray today, is about strength and your superpower. We many times talk about Superman, superpower. So what is it then? And it sounds really intimidating. What is that superpower? Seems like if you had a magic wand, what would you do? What would you do if you had a magic wand? I would be very happy to have a magic wand. I think I would make the world a better place. And listening to somebody last week, they said, I think people would be afraid to have a magic wand. And I was like, why? I think I would be very happy to have a magic wand to make everything better. What would you do? Maybe reflect a little bit. We have also space in the comments, so you certainly can put your wand story in the comments. What would you do if you have a magic wand? And last time I said, Sheryl Sandberg said, what would you do if you were not afraid? Big words, right? Are you afraid? What are you afraid of? What would you do if you were not afraid? And another proverb, it's an African proverb that I found for one of my projects, is actually, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk together. If you want to walk fast, walk alone. And if you want to go far, walk together. How interesting is that? Well, obviously in these days we need to keep the distance, but the concept is basically, if you want to go alone, you can go far and fast, but if you want to go further and probably also impress the world, go together. And the other insight that I learned last week, I thought that was pretty deep and thoughtful, is we talk about social distancing, but actually we should say the physical distancing. What is the big difference? Social distancing, physical distancing. So let's think. Women are much more social, and here I'm generalizing, right? So women tend to be more social than men. So if we say we don't want to do social, we should do social distancing, that could also mean that we kind of like cut up all the connections that we have and that's really not the meaning. So basically what it is, we need to keep a physical distance of 6 feet, 2 meters, but not the social distance. We want to interact, we want to be together or virtually together. So we want to keep those social interactions. And the Gilligan, the female psychologist, said women are building social networks versus men are building networks in technology. So if you think about that, it makes total sense. Women tend to be more social. They have sometimes a bigger network of friends. When you look at couples, when I ask them, what kind of friends do you have? Well, these are all my wife's friends. Interesting. How many friends do men have? And it's an interesting aspect to look at, especially in these days. And when we say social distancing, to me it's also, we are so many times on our phones now. We communicate only texting, FaceTime, what have you. So it's that we don't talk to each other anymore. Somebody said, yeah, my niece, she gets nervous when she has to make a phone call. So it's that social distancing. Reflect a little bit what that means to you. So it's about physical distancing that we have to do now, but do not keep the social distance. So it's about that physical distance that we really want to obey, but keep all the social contacts. It's important. Okay, again, my proverb that I want to say again, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, go together. Obviously, in today's time, we need to keep the distance, but the gist of this is like, there is a power of what you can do when you are in a group. And I will be offering circles, mastermind circles. It sounds very sophisticated. Basically, bring great people together and lead and empower with others, and we can also learn from each other. And I was listening to Madeleine Albright's interview with Trevor Noah yesterday. If you like Madeleine Albright, she's 83 years old, still a power woman. I love her. She certainly has a lot to say, and she says it. So watch Trevor Noah and Madeleine Albright. If you are on my Facebook page, I posted it yesterday. Just love what she's saying. And her quote is, "There is a special place in hell for women who don't help each other." I just love that. There is a special place in hell for women who do not help each other. And her new book has been out since April. So go and get her book and learn more about her. Certainly she has some great stories to tell. She has been the first, the female Secretary of State, and she's still going at 83. So then what is your strength? What is your superpower? I would say it's about the passion that you have. And there's also the book To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. And he talks about everybody is selling something. And first I was like, what is this? I'm not a salesperson. I do not sell refrigerators to Eskimos, or I do not sell vacuum cleaners. But he explains it actually very clearly. He says, everybody is selling something. It's about your intelligence, it's your intellect, and I would also ask or add, it's your passion. What are you passionate about? I see Debbie is here with us, so she certainly is a great photographer. She's very passionate about the photography. So this is her passion. This is what she's selling. She might not be selling all the photographies or the beautiful pictures she has taken, but certainly she's passionate about this. She can talk about her passion. So when you can talk about something with something that is dear to you, then you are a salesperson. You might not sell a refrigerator or a vacuum cleaner, but you're selling your intellect, your intelligence, and your passion. So that's your strength. Don't forget that. We sometimes underestimate what strength we can bring to the table. And that can be your superpower, taking pictures, looking at things differently. And along those lines is also being curious. I know when you're at home, it might be a little more difficult to, well, what can I do? What can I do? Well, I took this photography class this semester, and it was about street photography. Obviously, we could not go outside. Well, you look around in your house. What is interesting? Be curious. Maybe stage a picture. That's what I did. You can do that too. Take some pictures and have some fun. And be curious. And when you're curious, you're also daring. You daring to do something. You dare to do something out of the ordinary. Why not? And that's what I said last time. It's now the time to lean in, as Sheryl Sandberg says, lean in. But we also know it's a time that we have to step up. So stepping up is required now, and we need new leaders, and we need the leaders now. And how do you become that leader? And people say like, no, I'm not a leader. Well, I would argue everybody is a leader, everybody is a CEO. You're the CEO of your own life. It sounds really funny, right? But it's you go through your own life, you know which way sometimes you want to go, or we know where we don't want to go. So it's about knowing yourself, knowing your strength, but also know when you can outsource something. Why would you take time, let's say for me, with technology, when you can outsource that to somebody? Obviously on YouTube we find many great videos on how to do whatever, but certainly I'm not the best person when it comes to updating my website. I rather have a specialist or an expert doing that, so then it looks professional. Give it to an amateur, or rather give it to a specialist, and then it looks really professional. We all want to look professional, and that's how we want to sell our passion, our intellect, whatever we are selling here. So when we're daring, we also communicate well. So it's about communicating a good message, and when you're passionate about something, that's when you communicate well. And one more thing that I would like to add here is learn how to say no. Especially in today's times, you might be on many Zoom calls at work with your team, and somebody will say, can you do this? And you're like, yeah. Meanwhile, you know, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the time for everything. Just say no. And what I've learned is say no and don't add too much explanation. Sometimes we feel like we have to say no because of this and that, and you find a white lie or some other excuse. Just say, can you do this? No, it's not possible at the moment. And we just need to stop. Don't say anything more. And that's also something we have to learn. How to say no is use the power of silence. Just say no. I know the first time you do that, it's very hard. I tried it out and I was like super surprised. I was like, oh, wow. So I said, no. Can you do this? I said, no. And used the silence. And the other person was like, oh, wow, she means it. So use that saying no. And if it's hard for you to be silent, I have a little tip and a trick. So maybe count with your inner voice to 1, 2, 3. So your inner voice is actually helping you to keep that silence. Try it out. Say no. And wait 3 seconds. How cool is that? And the other part that I always want to say on my Facebook Live is like, please do be curious, and curiosity leads to learning. So learn something for yourself. And now is the time to invest in yourself. We don't need many more shoes or handbags or lipsticks. I think we have plenty of everything. If you open up your dresser, your drawers, your closet, some people even have the luxury of a walk-in closet. I think if you have a walk-in closet, you certainly have enough. And that's my judgment and assumption. But I think if you can walk in, you can look at all the stuff that you have. How much more do we need? When I was in India, I met a young girl and I said to her, how many dresses do you have? And she said, 8. So she has 1 dress per each day for the week, and she has a beautiful one for a special occasion. So 8 dresses, figure that out. How many more dresses do you have? So what I mean by that is now it's time to invest in yourself. Don't invest in more t-shirts, shoes, or lipsticks, what have you. But still the lipstick is important. So learn something. And you can learn something very easy these days with all the free webinars. I certainly get inundated and I miss some of them. I'm sure I'm missing some of the good ones. But it's just there's only 24 hours in a day, even for me. And yeah, pick what you want, pick what is interesting for you. But my recommendation is, why don't you learn something out of the ordinary? Well, for me, that would be certainly technology. Why not watch a video that talks about something that is foreign to me? What I mean by that, when I used to go to the museum, to the Metropolitan Museum in New York, which is humongous, you can spend days and days in that museum, I would always pick 2 exhibits that I would love to see, and then I would add something totally out of the ordinary. One day I would go to South Pacific region and I was like, wow, look at all the wood that they had, the boats that they had. I learned a lot. Or one day they had even some armory stuff, like all the art that they showed in those, what the people were wearing. I was amazed. So I would have never, if somebody would have said like, let's go to a show like this, I would say, no, that's not my interest. But since it was there, obviously a lot of people go to the Egyptian section, but why not wander out to something else? And I think the word wander is the right word to say. So why not wander out to something, to the unknown, and you can add a little salt and pepper to your curiosity. So look at the strengths that you can offer. What superpower do you have? Dare to communicate, dare to say no. And listening to Anthony Hopkins' graduation speech, what did he say? Believe in yourself, believe. And he said, yes, we are in hard times, especially those young students who are graduating. Where will they find a job? But he says, believe in yourself. The future will come, but believe in yourself, and it will come when you are positive. And when you are positive, that's what is contagious. And on that note, when you are positive, when you're smiling is contagious. So rather than complaining the whole day, focus on something positive, focus on something uplifting, uplift somebody else. That also helps you to raise to a different space. And keep smiling. Why not? If you frown, you use more muscles than if you're smiling. And the lady who gave a talk about mindfulness, she said, put your left hand on your heart and breathe deeply and just enjoy that moment, and things will change. So believe, dare, be curious, look for your superpower. And we all know The superpower is already in yourself. Sometimes we just need to unleash it. I'm happy to provide, as I said many times, I'm happy to provide 30 minutes free coaching. And again, coaching is not therapy, it's not counseling, it's just checking in where you are, help you wherever you are, maybe talk about your job, talk about your passion, talk about your dreams. You don't have to change, you're good enough. Sometimes we just need to hear this, you're good enough, whatever you're doing now. And you're doing a great job staying home, washing the hands, using the mask, and being a role model for others. So if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk together. These are all my tips for today. Reach out to me, 30 minutes free coaching, send me a direct message. I'm happy to hear from you, and we'll see each other next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody.